So we will focus mostly today on conifers just because that's where we are, right? So we could probably talk a little bit about forestry in general. So does anybody have an idea of what forestry actually means?
Cutting down trees.
Well, that's part of it, yeah. So that's part, yep. So forestry, and so Jeff and I are trained foresters. We both went to UWSP. We've been working together for years. And really, forestry is a study of how trees work in the ecosystem, right? So this is a forest, right? Now, one thing that's interesting about this forest is that this one was planted. This is not a natural forest, but that's fine. That doesn't mean anything bad. It's just that that's what it is. So about 2000, I think it was 2008 or 9, folks that were probably a little bit older than you, so had been students-ish in that age, actually planted this. This was a bare field. There was nothing in here. And so they came in and they planted this all with little teeny tiny red pine. And now, of course, now it's starting to grow into a forest. And when we do forestry stuff, we have to think about things, not just growing the trees, but what we're going to do as they kind of mature. Just like us, right? When we get older, we start maturing. There's other things we can do, right? When you're teeny tiny, 2 years old, you couldn't really run and jump, right? Maybe a little bit, but usually not as good. But as you get older, you can do more stuff. So forestry really, and you guys are familiar with farming, we're in a farming community. Forestry really is farming the forested resource. It's really not much different than that. And then there are things that we do. Now every forest is different, right? So this is more of a red pine forest. We're in sandier soils. Red pine does really good here. But if you were to go any directions, if we go south, north, east, west, there's all sorts of other forests. The soils are different. All those different interactions between everything that's in the forest. So like that forest right there, you're gonna find a lot more birds in that, a lot more neotropical migrants. And we haven't heard anything tweeting today, but we probably would. You'll find more woodpeckers, more things like that. As that gets bigger and older, then other critters will use it, right? So the forests are always changing. So that's just one thing we gotta keep in mind. And then if you're into forestry, that's one thing that we think about when we go in. Harvesting is one thing, but then we gotta know what we leave behind as well. So the reason that we're actually out here is that we're gonna talk a little bit about reproduction. What is this? That is perfect. So this is where seed comes from. So do we plant this whole thing? No. Where's the seed? It isn't. You guys are geniuses. You guys already had this class? You'll see inside of here, inside of each one of these bracts or scales, right? We call them scales because it's just easy for us to remember. They kind of look like fish scales a little bit, if you think about it. You'll find the seed. Now in each one of them, there's actually 2 seeds and they're connected to a little bitty wing. What we're gonna do today, we're actually gonna pick some of these cones. So there's a couple things we need to know about red pine cones. First off, it takes 2 years for this cone to actually mature. So this tree grew from this point right here to up here this year, all right? And then it set that. That's a baby cone. They call them conelets. So that cone actually is like 3 or 4 months old, okay? So that one got set, and now next year in spring, it will open up and then there'll be pollen going around. So this guy will get pollinated. So this little guy will turn into one of these cones, which that's what this is. So this is a cone that was teeny tiny last year, and he grew up and now here he is. Now he's already opened up, you can see that, right? And he's probably already sent his seed out, and the seed is wind disseminated. So what'll happen is these will open up when humidities change, and then the seed will fall out and then it whirly-birds down, and that's how the tree puts itself out and advances itself. What do you think the easiest way to get that cone off the tree is?
Probably at the root.
Give him a twist. 3 twists usually, all the way around. There's 1, keep going. There's 2, and 1 more. What do you know? You'd think I'd done this before.
No.
I have. So this was it. That's the easiest way to get these guys off, is just give them a twist. You're always gonna have a little tail at the end. Good job, by the way, that was good. You're always gonna have a little tail. Doesn't matter, that's okay. And then you twist them off. Now, there are cones on here that are old. There are cones that you're gonna find, like this guy right here. So you see how this was where it grew this year, right? About 6 inches. This is where your cone should be. This guy was here 2 years ago. So this one's no good. So he's actually completely rotten on the inside and there's no seed in there. See how I just pull him apart really easy? Yeah, it's just garbage in there. You may run across a few seed insects. One thing about, no matter what, when you're in the forests of Wisconsin, every tree's got an insect that kind of likes to eat on it. It's a weevil. Has anyone ever seen a weevil? They got really long nose.
Are they white?
No, these are dark. They're dark color, yeah. But anyway, you probably won't run into too many. It's cooler today and it's not that big of a deal. But so what we're gonna do, and this will be with, we'll just work up here on this end. We can kind of come up over here. What we'll do is we'll kind of go into the woods. We'll take a look at some trees, right? We can kind of start slow and we'll see what we can find with these. We'll twist them off. I have some buckets we can fill them with. We'll go over that way. Let's go sneak in over there, okay? Careful, don't run into that too much. All right, so we'll probably spread out a little bit. We'll look around. If you want to grab some cones and pick a few. So where'd you get him? Was he on the, oh, this is a good one. See this? And you can see the little tongues in there. That's the actual seed inside. Those are good, actually.
I think these are so good.
Yep, there's some in there. Those are good. Those are all good. Let's take a look at that one. Oh, what do we got? And that usually what happens when a tree is healthy, when the insect attacks it, it'll pitch it out, they call it, and that just kind of, it drowns the tree. So that was good. You can toss it in there. If you see a seed in there.
I don't see any seeds.
There you go.
Most of the
That's,
ones that are this
ooh, what kind is that?
I've already lost seeds.
It is. What kind?
You find them like,
That's white pine. Where'd you find it?
Over there.
Yeah, that's from white pine. We're picking red pine on the Almond School Forest, and it seems like the folks are having a good time, so the youngsters seem to be enjoying themselves. It's just trying to keep everybody within the same 40 has been a challenge. So go look at these. Aren't they look like little 1980s Christmas trees? Yeah, aren't they neat? So these are Scotch pine. These are different. These are not what we're looking for today, but look at how much different the cones are. If you mistake that, we need to talk to you about some stuff, right? Because there's so much different. But there are three native pine to the state of Wisconsin: red, white, and jack, right? This is not native, it's a Scotch pine. Hey, if anybody's got any cones, Jeff's got a bucket, Steve's got a bucket, just toss them in there. You guys did good. We had 25, 26 people picking today. This will turn out to probably be the equivalent of about a half a bushel-ish, something like that. So a bushel is actually a unit of measure that we use. I was just talking just before. Everybody knows what ice cream pails are, right? We all know what a gallon of ice cream is because we all love that. We're in Wisconsin, right? About 9.5 of those is the equivalent of a bushel. So it takes a little while, right? So if it takes us about 2 hours to get that, and guess how much seed we'd get from if every cone was good, how much seed do you think we'd get out of a bushel of cones? 100 seeds? 500 seeds? We get about 0.4 pounds of seed, which is the equivalent of about 30 to 40,000 seeds. We put this into what is called a kiln. It's like an oven that only goes up to about 103 to 105 degrees. And when these guys get heated, they open up. And then they go in a shaker, and then they shake really good, and the seed drops out. We collect that. How long do you think we can store this seed for? How old are you guys?
12, 13.
When you were born, like 2000 what? 11-ish, in that realm, right? So we have seed that we picked in the 80s that is still good, that we froze, that we can still use. So it's older than, well, it's not older than you.
Nope.
No, but it's a little bit older. No, it's not older than me either. Anyway, so we can store this stuff for 30, 40 years if we really wanted to, and it can still work and do good. So that's why we pick a lot of seed whenever we can. So we store this and then we use this and we plant it. Anyone ever seen corn or soybeans or cucumbers planted with the seed? We do about the same thing as farmers do. We just have different equipment. And then they grow up, and then who here was in 4th grade ever in your life? Did you get a seedling for Arbor Day? Yeah, that came from my nursery. And that's what a lot of times we use those. They'll grow seedlings and they grow, we send them out to school students. Last year, I think we sent out 45,000. But yeah, if you guys ever have questions, you can always come ask. Otherwise, this was fun today.
Yep, awesome.
This is a perfect day. Good job picking it.
All right, guys, let's have a round of applause for our really awesome presenters. Today, our 7th grade life science students came out and we learned about forestry reproduction and seed collecting. And we had a great time coming out, picking some pine cones, learning about where we get the trees that we all plant around our neighborhoods and forests from. The DNR does give you a little bit of money for the seeds as well, but really it's a great experience. The kids all had such a great time today. It's a nice way to teach them a little bit about real science instead of just classroom science. It's a nice real world experience for them.